and staff either live with a mental illness or have a family member. We've called this press conference today to respond to the discriminatory action taken by members of the Golden Valley City Council and Mayor Harris. On Wednesday night, they voted 3-2 against a motion to allow a new mental health day treatment program for children to be developed. The recording from the meeting revealed a community steeped in fear, misunderstanding, misinformation, and prejudice. The residents and elected officials from Golden Valley need to know that they did not speak against those children, but against all of our children. 1 in 5 children lives with a mental illness. They are already living in Golden Valley and the surrounding communities. They live in every neighborhood, attend every school, worship at every faith community, play at every park. These innocent children have an illness like any other, and they should not be subject to nor denied treatment because of misinformed fears of adults. What is equally disturbing is the message they are sending by the words they used that night. It's okay to target children and youth due to their illness or disability. It's better to keep silent about mental illnesses because people will react with fear and condemnation. If you lived with a mental illness or had a child or a family member with a mental illness, would you feel comfortable talking about it in Golden Valley? The Golden Valley Human Rights Commission states that its mission is to help promote and nourish a safe, respectful, and welcoming community. That mission was clearly missing on Wednesday night. Stigma reared its ugly head on Wednesday night. Clearly there was no empathy or understanding for these children and their families. But the dirty secret about stigma is that these attitudes lead to discrimination, which is exactly what happened. Had a cancer treatment facility for children been proposed, no one would have objected. But because it was children with a mental illness, it was perfectly acceptable to deny its development. We stand before you today united against the action taken by the Golden Valley City Council and Mayor. We want the families of children with mental illnesses in Golden Valley to know that we stand with them and that they are not alone. Our hearts broke when we heard the disparaging comments made about children with mental illnesses. We simply cannot allow discrimination and intolerance to thrive in any corner of our state. In a phone call I received late yesterday afternoon, Golden Valley Mayor Shep Harris informed me that they would grant a 60-day extension to Lifespan's request in order to have time to educate the community. NAMI, of course, will work to educate people about mental illnesses, but let me state firmly that these elected officials gave in to fear, reinforced misinformation, and failed to stand up or speak out for children with mental illnesses. Elected officials have a moral duty to speak up for the most vulnerable in our communities. This week, they failed to do that.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lucinda Jessen, Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Human Services, and I'm happy to be standing here with so many advocates on behalf of people with mental illness, and especially today on behalf of our children. You know, in my job, I get to go and travel all around Minnesota, and I see so much of our great healthcare system. But one of the biggest gaps in our healthcare system in Minnesota today is we don't have enough access to mental health services, especially for our children. That's true in Warroad, it's true in Marshall, and it's true in Golden Valley. And day treatment providers, day treatment is an important part of the services that our children need access to. A place where kids can work on their issues, build skills, and sometimes catch up on schoolwork that they miss because of their illness. Now, Governor Dayton and the legislature last year took some major steps to try and address this critical gap, especially by doubling the mental health grants in our schools. But we have a long ways to go. And we're not going to get there as a state and as a community until we start treating mental illness like we do any other illness, like cancer, like diabetes, like high blood pressure. And you know, when I talk to people around our state, including so many in Golden Valley, they realize that we need better access to mental health services for our children. They understand that need. And given that, we need to go back and recognize that and start over again. And so I ask all of the community to step back, away from fear, away from rhetoric, and look again at this proposal. We need more mental health services for all of our children. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tracy Hackman. I'm the CEO and Clinical Director for Lifespan, and we were the applicant at Golden Valley to introduce a day treatment center to their community. So I want to share with you all a story that both saddened and stunned me and my staff on February 5th, when the Golden Valley City Council voted down our ability to use a building already zoned for commercial use for our Lifespan program. With our developer, we moved through a detailed process with the city to get all the necessary elements in place for the February 5th vote. We did our application, we attended a January 13th city planning meeting, we addressed all 16 conditions, detailed requests including items from the perimeter bush height and landscaping to traffic access plans and the car count. We took proactive steps to meet with the Golden Valley Police Chief on the topic of public safety. We felt very welcomed by the City of Golden Valley in meetings with the city staff leading up to the December 5th City Council meeting. We were also led to believe that the conditional use permit approval by the City Council for the Pennsylvania Avenue property would be administrative in nature. Our Lifespan program, with its therapy, education, and administration needs, requires about 20,000 square feet. Any tenant over 10,000 square feet needed this approval. To my understanding, at issue, there were 3 key areas: property values, public safety, and traffic flow. The facts presented at the February 5th meeting were clear to us. Fact 1, property values will not decrease, per the expert, the county assessor. Fact 2, the public safety is not an issue, per their expert, the police chief of Golden Valley. Fact 3, traffic flow, if still a concern, would be addressed. We were willing to explore another option, including changing the entrance location. Clearly the vote was not based on the facts, but rather on the loudest voices in the room. Those voices, 16 in all, presented a misconception of our children. They asked about fences. They asked about guards. They said it was a public safety risk to small children in the neighborhood. They said that they wanted our kids to stay indoors, not allowed to go outdoors like other children do in their day. They said that if we moved in, the local kids won't use the sledding hill anymore. Lifespan serves the needs of mentally ill children. We know there's a need in the Northwest metro area. We nearly serve 25 children from the area, bused to our other facilities in Shoreview and Burnsville, and returned to the community and the local neighborhoods. With this new Lifespan facility on Pennsylvania Avenue, we would have the ability to serve as many as 85 kids in Golden Valley and surrounding communities. I came into the meeting thinking I would be able to show that I could be a good neighbor. However, I walked away feeling that some citizens would sabotage our efforts to be successful, and I left with concerns about having our children in a community where they weren't welcome. They don't deserve being in a hostile environment. Mental illness is a health condition. Our youth transition program is aimed at getting these kids well. These kids are ill and they need support, understanding, and positivity to get better again. This means support both inside the walls of our establishment and within the surrounding community.
Good morning. My name is Mary Regan. I'm the Executive Director of the Minnesota Council of Child Caring Agencies, which is a statewide association of providers of treatment services for children and adolescents. We need more day treatment programs, and this is really an opportunity for the community of Golden Valley to show support for children and their families. Mental illness does not discriminate. If we're open to learning and talking about mental illnesses, we will discover the reality that we have family members, we have neighbors, and we have friends who've been touched by mental illness. We won't be afraid and discriminate either. Day treatment programs can have a profound effect on a child's ability to heal, learn, form healthy relationships, and regain the joy of childhood. We know that many children and families wait years without access to effective treatment. Treatment works, needs to be available in all communities, and is a part of a healthy environment for all of our families.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Ann Klein, and our daughter Betsy is a former client of Lifespan. Betsy lives with a host of mental illnesses, including ADHD, bipolar, obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety, Asperger's syndrome, which falls in this autism spectrum. Betsy's mental health struggles began at an early age. From about the age of 4, we knew something was going on with our daughter. Once she began school, the problems only escalated. Betsy was bullied constantly and had trouble connecting with her peers. As she entered the 4th grade, we grew increasingly worried about our daughter and took Betsy to see her pediatrician, who diagnosed her with bipolar disorder and placed her on medication. She was stable for a time, and at the end of 5th grade, we got a call from her school saying that Betsy was suicidal. When Betsy was in the 6th grade, things quickly began to deteriorate, with Betsy having terrible anxiety attacks, which prohibited her from even going to school. Prior to Betsy entering the Lifespan program in 8th grade, she was in 4 partial hospitalizations for her mental illnesses, which resulted in her doctors recommending a longer-term program. As a former city council member, I understand Golden Valley City Council was faced with when they were presented a CUP. It is prudent practice for the city council to ensure the safety of its citizens. However, decisions must be based on evidence and facts, which does not include illogical emotions to drive its decisions. Statistically speaking, there are children who live in Golden Valley who need the services of Lifespan. Lifespan saved our daughter's life. Today, at the age of 15, Betsy has become a beautiful young woman who is capable of managing her mental illness because of what she learned in the Lifespan program. And she is beginning to make plans for college. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Justin Pearl. I'm here with my son, Philip. We live a couple of blocks away from the proposed facility. I didn't even know about this proposal until about a week ago. I received a call from one of my neighbors telling me about an application for a treatment center for severely emotionally disturbed children, a couple of blocks away from our home. I need to admit to all of you, I was concerned. But thanks to Philip, at his request, he said that I should remain open-minded, that I should learn the facts, and then come to a decision. So I decided to go to the city council meeting. At the last minute, Philip decided to join me. And what I heard at that meeting from Lifespan alleviated all of my concerns. There were no safety risks that you heard from Tracy. The children are under constant supervision. And in fact, Lifespan's employees have a daycare center there for their own children. And they've never been put in harm's way. They've never had a problem. Unfortunately, my friends, my neighbors, and even my elected representatives, or actually 3 out of 5 of them, based their decision on rank speculation, highly charged but unsupported accusations, and frankly, fear-mongering. You know, it reminded me of a time not too long ago when we were told to go to war because there were weapons of mass destruction over there. There were no facts, just fear. I was really embarrassed, and I remain embarrassed at this moment to be a Golden Valley resident, where I've been a resident for 25 years now. So I agreed to come out today when I was asked to rebuke those who basically gave lip service to Lifespan's great work, but basically they were saying, not in my backyard. So next time, I hope there's a next time. I hope justice prevails and not political expediency rules, and I hope justice rules the day. Thank you. Philip?
So I too came out to the meeting on Wednesday, mainly out of curiosity, expecting to listen. I wasn't planning on speaking. By the middle of the second speaker from the community, it was clear to me that fear was starting to rule the day, and unjustified stigmatizations were flying around. And I was just deeply upset and offended, and felt like there weren't many people in support at the meeting. So I went up and I spoke and just tried to alleviate some of the fears that were flying around the community. And we live about 2.5 blocks from where the facility was applying to be located. And I felt that there was no safety threat to the community. You know, our neighborhood is very comfortable and quiet, and at any small indication that the people in the neighborhood would have a threat to their peace of mind, there was just a disgusting overreaction and imagery of these children as monsters, you know, not treating them like the children they deserve to be treated. So I spoke as best I could, trying to alleviate some of those fears. I'm glad I could provide a voice of reason from the community. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to sway the city council vote, but it's encouraging to hear all the voices that have come out in favor of the facility since then, and it's very encouraging to be here today. Thank you.
I'm Steve Schmidtgall. I'm a resident of Golden Valley. Under ordinary circumstances, I'd introduce myself as a member of the City Council. I first collaborated with NAMI 3 years ago when about 200 of us, patients, their families, caregivers, contractors, designers, collaborated to build the finest mental health hospital in the Midwest at Regions Hospital. That was very gratifying. But the thing that I took away from that project were two things. Number one, the tragic fact that 20% of us, not them, us in this room, are going to experience mental illness during our lifetime. The other tragic fact is that we will not seek care for an average of 10 years because of the stigma that attaches to the treatment of mental illness and to mental illness. One of the things we did when I was at Regions Hospital, every employee of Regions and Health Partners participated in a workshop about the stigma associated with mental illness. And we did that because we wanted to roll our program out in the best possible environment. I was so glad to be made aware of that stigma and to be made